Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to build a custom computer. It has been 10 years since I built my last computer, and I just thought that I should make another video on how to make a custom computer in 2020. Personally, I think building a custom computer, it's a lot worth than buying a stock computer from like a store, because I had experience before when I bought the stock computer and they all sucks. Most of them will only last you for a couple years most, and my custom computer lasted me for over 10 years since I built them. Most of these parts are bought on sale, and I think it's a great value and give you best performance and big bang for the buck. Following components are NZXT H500 case, the ASUS X570, and the Ryzen 7, the 32GB of the RAM. I also got the Samsung SN750 NVMe SSD. It's 500GB, and I got a good deal on it. It was on sale for $69.99. For a video card, I have XFX RX 5700 XT Thicc 3 8GB, boost up to 2025 MHz. That's 2.025 GHz. DDR6 7 nanometer. So first we inspect our ATX case to make sure that we fully understand what's on the case. As you can see, there's buttons, there's USB ports, and there's some sound jack. As well as if you turn around, you see this back exhaust fan and this fan on top. So basically there are 7 PCI slots you can use for like PCI cards and a whole bunch of different stuff that you can do. And then we turn around and we can see this is Temperglass in the front, which will give us a nice view. This is what I really like about this case, because it has a full view to let the user see what's inside and what's running. I think it's just really cool. I had one before, but it was acrylic back in college 15 years ago. And this is really tempered glass, so make sure you do not damage it. Alright, first let's start with the motherboard. This is ASUS TUF Gaming X570 Plus motherboard. It has great VRM heatsink, which is one of the great advantage. But it was on sale. It was like 168 or something plus tax, and I think I should give it a try. It doesn't have Wi-Fi or anything, but I think I'm just gonna wait for the Wi-Fi 6 to come out. There's no point of getting a onboard Wi-Fi for like $25 extra and stuff like that. So this is all the accessories, the back plate, there's cables, SATA cable come with 2 of them, and there's stickers. These are what you need when you want to hook up to like SSD and whatnot. But I'm gonna use NVMe drive. This first time I'm using it, so there's no point of using the SATA cable. I'm just gonna use it for backup. And there's some extra screws. Well, not extra screws. These are screws for NVMe to hook on. Alright, so this is a back plate. We tear it down, and then we just gotta put this in the back of the computer. But just make sure you do not put your finger on top, because these are really sharp. So what you're gonna do is you gotta push this thing from the inside out. Make sure the part that has labels facing backward. Alright, so first thing first, we're gonna put the motherboard into the case. Just be careful when you put the motherboard into the case. Make sure it's sitting on top of the standing screw. Otherwise, if you put it flat mount on the case, it will shorten out the motherboard, and it's hundreds of dollars. In order to mount the motherboard onto the case, we need the motherboard screws, and most of these screws come with the case. So I had to look around, and I actually had to open out the back panel, and I found this box with the screws inside and some zip ties. There's different kind of screws. Most of them are like generic screws that you can use to mount like hard drive, like standing screws, and motherboard screws. So what I did is I looked in the instruction manual and look at the component list, and there's list of different type of screws, and it tells you what those screws are and how would you use them. For example, like this one says D screw 6-32 times 5 millimeters for motherboard installation, as well as 3.5 hard drive installation. So you just really got to know what screw to use, and there's labels on top of the bag that tells you what size they are. So I found the screw and I locate the holes on the screw and I put each screw into the hole, and then I just gotta make sure it's tight, but just make sure when you tighten it, do not over tighten it. Again, do not over tighten. Don't use too much strength, as this will break the thread on the motherboard, and that could damage your motherboard, and you do not want to do that. Alright, this step I'm just showing you in fast forward motion how to put the screws in the motherboard and to make sure that every single screw is tightened in place so that it doesn't fall off. Alright, next is the fun part. We're putting in the CPU, Ryzen 3700X 8-core 16-thread processor, 4.4 gigahertz, and this is my first 8-core. For this build, I'm actually gonna use the stock CPU cooler. Before I had a water cooler, and this is what AMD called a Wraith Prism RGB cooler fan, and it looks pretty cool from the pictures and the videos that I saw online. So I think I'm gonna give it a try. Actually, people has compared this to the water cooler, and it doesn't really make that much a difference. So I think I'm gonna give it a try and save some money. And this is the actual CPU. You see how small that is? That's the heart and core of the computer, and you got to be extra careful with this because you could really damage the pin. These are thousands of millions and gazillions of transistors inside. This is 7 nanometer, the new technology, the best that's out there right now. They probably already have the 5 nanometers, but it's crazy expensive. It's probably not going to be out for another, I don't know, sometimes. Maybe the next generation of CPU, which is coming out soon, would have it. But look at this pin right here. If you look extra careful, look at the orientation of the CPU. There's a little dots at the corner that shows you the exact place where you need to put in to align on the motherboard. So just make sure you read over it and inspect the CPU carefully before you're trying to put it on. And here's an instruction manual that shows you how to mount the stock cooler. As you can see, that's the motherboard, and this is where you sit on top of the CPU. But most important thing is you got to make sure you try to get in one place. These are the pins. You just pull to the right and lift up the leveler, and there's indicator on top that shows you if you push down, that's locked in, and pull up is to unlock the CPU. Here I'm going to zoom in for you real quick to show you what I'm talking about. Right there, you see the lock on the right hand corner and the unlock symbol that tells you what's locked and what's unlocked. It's pretty straightforward, and there's a pin on the left hand corner which align with the pin on the CPU that I was showing you earlier. Just make sure you inspect it very carefully and do not mess up the orientation, otherwise you'll bend the pin and this will be really bad. And do not touch those pins. When I was showing you, I didn't actually touch it, but I was showing you that you gotta align the pin in the corner on the CPU with the placement on the motherboard so that it can sit in place, and it should snap in if you got the right orientation. And if it's, if you do it round or something like that, and you'll feel it, like it will sit right on top, no problem, it will sit right in. Like you're trying to wiggle it, it's just like you can feel it. So what you do is push down in there, and then so after you install the CPU, what we're going to do is we have to install the stock cooler. So referring to the instruction manual of the motherboard, we find where the CPU fan connector is, and there's 4-pin fan on the motherboard, which is on number 2 in the instruction manual. So if you look straight at the your instruction manual, it'll show you where the connector is. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see what the best placement of this stock CPU cooler that I should put, like left or right or something like that, so that I have the cable in the right way so it doesn't block anything or too short. So this right here, you see the latch, there's 2 latch, one on the left and one on the right. It goes right on top of the motherboard. So what you gotta do is gotta latch one of the hook into the motherboard first, the one that has no levels, because once you put that in, then you can try to set the one on the right hand side with the level. So this is probably one of the hardest part, is to align the CPU cooler on top of the CPU, because you can't really see what's down there, especially when a CPU is so small and the stock cooler is so big on top. It blocks everything underneath it, so you can't really see where is it actually going. So the only way you can do it is trying to align it from the top to the bottom, kind of like a laser beam or something like that. And then you latch one side to the motherboard. There should be like a hook on the motherboard, and then once you have that one in, and you latch one on the right hand side, and then just push down the level so it will stay stock. Next thing you're going to do is what I showed you earlier about a CPU fan. This is the fan connector that's on the motherboard, and again referred to the instruction on the instruction manual. And next we have the RAM installation. Since I bought 2 sticks, I'm going to use the DDR2. The orientation of the DDR sticks are different from DDR3, DDR4, and DDR1. And again, you have to refer to the instruction menu. And if you try and look on top to the bottom, you'll see the pin alignment. And if one way is not right, you just got to switch around for another one. And what you do is you push the tab on the right hand side and the left hand side to unlock the slots, and then once you push it in, you just lock. Next we're going to install the Western Digital SN750 NVMe drive. Look at this hard drive, it's so tiny. This is the first time using NVMe. I've heard of it, and it's fast. It's supposed to be like 3400 megabyte per second. Crazy fast. Look how small that is compared to just the size of my finger, and compared to a traditional SSD. And if you look on your motherboard, it should tell you what that slot is. And mine is 2280 length, so there's indicators on the motherboard tells you what size of the pin you should put it in. So what you do, you just push it in, and then you lock with the screws. Alright, now we're done with most of the components. Next we have the video card. This video card is humongous. It's extra long and huge. Look at that. It has 3 fans, and the middle fan, I think 110 millimeter or something like that, according to the manufacturer website. And it's made by FX, and there's stickers, and there's like tabs and everything. You just gotta take care of it before you put it in to make sure. There's 3 display port and 1 HDMI. This thing can handle, I think, 6 monitors at once. Isn't that crazy? Even though it has 4 ports, but it has I think a daisy chain connection where you split the connectors, and you can have like 6 different monitors. And one of the hardest thing again is to align the slot with the PCI Express on the motherboard. So you just gotta make sure you align it first before you put it in. Again, good thing about this, you can see it from the side. Like once you align the pins and the PCI slot, what you gotta do is you just gotta push down from the top, and it kind of like snaps right in. And once that's aligned in, you just gotta put a screw back in, and that's about it. Yeah, I was having a hard time trying to put it in because this thing's big, and it's hard to align it just like the CPU. But CPU is a lot harder. This one's you can actually see from the side. You see the alignments right there underneath on the PCI slot, and once you have it in, you're good to go. Alright, now next we're going to do the power supply. Power supply, I have the Corsiar 650. I had this spare part. I bought it once on sale like a few months ago from eBay. I think it was like 45 or less than $50. It's 650 watts. I think it's good enough for what I'm doing. I had like 600 watt before, which I never used that much power because I only have one graphic card, and that's what makes most power is going to be consumed by the graphic cards. I'm not doing any crypto mining or anything, just basic computation and some video editing. So what you do is you slide that power supply into the case and get the screws, align it, and then put it in, and just make sure you really you know, place it in the right direction. Otherwise you'll have trouble later on trying to align them and get it right the first time. I think that's the most challenging part about the power supply, but it's the easiest part out of them all. So once we have the power supply in, we should look at the cable connectors, and we really gotta know which connector to hook on. And there's like ATX power supply, I think it's 24 pin for the motherboard on the one side, and you just gotta again refer to the instruction manual, and they're pretty straightforward. Actually on the board you can really easily tell there's 24 pins on the motherboard. That's the only place, and if you don't know where it is, you can refer to the instruction manual, tell you where to hook it up. And there's like 8 pin and 4 pins, and according to the CPU and the motherboard and how much power it requires, and that determines, you know, which pin that goes in and which pin to plug it in. So once you have the 24 pin plugged in, you should plug in the 8 pin and the 4 pin. In this case I only have 8 pin on the CPU side. And next we're going to plug in the PCI power for the graphic card. Now this graphic card requires 6 pin connectors, 2 of the 6 pin connectors. If you don't have the 6 pin connector, it comes with 2 of the extension cable. We can convert like 4 pin to 6 pins, or like 1 6 pin to 8, 2 8 pin splitter, I think. And next we'll locate the front HD audio connector on the motherboard using the instruction manual, and this is where the case connector is. This is coming from the case in the front, where I was showing you earlier. You gotta connect this. It'll have, most of them will have like labels on top saying like HD audio, and they're pretty straightforward. And then the next part is the power, the switch, you know, the LED, you know, the thing that you see when you turn on the PC and your PC is running. It will have indicators on the case that shows you if the hard drive is running or not. And I think this is probably the most difficult part for most people, because you really gotta know where to plug it in. There's positive and negative, but if you look closely and pay attention to the pin numbers, it will show you like where the pins are. And then here's USB 3.2 connectors. I have 2 USB ports from the front, so I've located the USB 3.2 ports on the motherboard, and then the cable from the case. So I just gotta reroute the cable and then find the connector, and then you just push it in. These again pretty straightforward. You can't really go wrong with that because they're in pre-arrangement position, and you can easily tell by looking at it. So now after we're done with hooking everything, and just gotta make sure all the cables are hooked in. And then last, I have 2 of the fans from the case. Again, refer to the instruction manual. There's like fan connectors on the motherboard. These are pretty straightforward too. It will say CPU fan or case fan. Basically you can use any of these fan connectors. Some are 4 pin, some are 3 pin. I think the 4 pin uses the PWM, which path with modulation, and the case I used only support 3 pins, so I just left out the PWM pin empty, so I only connected 3 pins on the motherboard. Alright, now I'm done with the connectors. Make sure you set all the cables and put them in a zip tie and arrange them in a nice way, and then put the back case on, the front lid on. Alright, moment of truth. Now I plug in the power. You see the lights already coming on. There's green, blue, RGB light. Press the power button. Voila, look at that. Isn't that amazing? Alright, this is the first thing I've seen in, I don't know, over 10 years since I built my last computer, which is Thicc hard case. I like it too, but I want a new case. Look at that. This is crazy. Awesome. We built a new computer. Aren't we excited? Great. Hope you guys give me a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my video. This is the first video I did with the YouTube, and it would really encourage me to do more video if you guys can really support me. Thank you very much, and adios.